The stars of the Helios sector burned softly against the black sky, calm and peaceful, too peaceful to warn of what was coming. The human colony of Elysium-7 was a quiet place, filled with farmlands, crystal lakes, and families who believed that peace among the stars was possible. Children studied under transparent domes. Farmers worked side by side with small helper robots. It was a young world, still growing, still learning what it meant to be home. For decades, humanity had built colonies across nearby systems, never seeking war, only cooperation. They traded with alien species, learned from them, and believed that trust could be earned through kindness. Elysium-7 was one of those dreams, until one cold night when the stars themselves seemed to vanish. No one understood what happened at first. The colony's sensors began to flicker. Strange signals appeared on long-range scanners. The communication towers started to fail one by one. Then silence. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of something gone terribly wrong. When the human ships finally arrived days later, there was nothing left but ashes. The beautiful blue domes had fallen. The lakes had turned black. All communication logs were erased, all satellites destroyed. The entire population, men, women, and children, had disappeared. The tragedy was too great for words. The survivors who arrived on rescue ships stood in silence, watching the smoke rise from what used to be home. Captain Alara Voss, commander of the exploration ship Horizon Dawn, stood among them. Her eyes reflected the glow of the ruins. She had known some of the colonists personally, friends, families gone. A week later, the Council of Humanity gathered at Orbital Station Athena, a ring-shaped fortress above Earth. Leaders, admirals, scientists, and diplomats filled the massive chamber. The air was heavy with grief and anger. Counselor Darren spoke first, his voice trembling. The data from Elysium-7 confirms our worst fears. It was not a natural event. It was a deliberate attack. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. He continued. The signatures belong to the Varkari Collective, a coalition of raiders from the Outer Rim. They've destroyed several minor settlements of other species before, but never a human one. The words hit like a thunderclap. The Varkari, a ruthless alien group known for taking what they wanted and leaving nothing behind. Humanity had never fought them directly. They had always stayed far from human space. Until now. Admiral Renard rose from his seat. If this is true, then this is an act of war. But others were hesitant. The diplomat, Senator Lyra Hale, shook her head. War will only bring more loss. We need proof, and perhaps a chance for dialogue. Violence will not bring them back. Ilara Voss sat silently for a while, then spoke, her voice calm but sharp. With respect, Senator, dialogue won't bring back Elysium-7 either. We can't reason with those who destroy for pleasure. We need justice. Her words echoed through the chamber. Humanity had always prided itself on being reasonable, patient, and diplomatic. But something had changed. For the first time in decades, anger burned brighter than hope. The investigation. The Horizon Dawn was tasked with leading a covert mission. Their goal, find evidence of who was responsible and how the attack was carried out. Ilara gathered her crew, a team of skilled specialists. Lieutenant Mason Reed, the tactical officer, had once served in the Terran fleet. Ari Tanaka, the ship's engineer, was known for her genius in decoding alien tech. And Dr. Lena Torres, the team's moral center, believed that even in tragedy one must not lose humanity's soul. Their journey took them beyond known space, into the darker regions of the galaxy. They searched for debris, signals, or anything left behind. Weeks passed. Then finally they found something. A fragment of alien alloy floating near an asteroid field. It was scorched, but its design matched the Varkari's unique architecture. Got you, Mason muttered as he examined the readings. Ari's scanners confirmed it. No doubt about it. This came from a Varkari cruiser. Ilara ordered the ship's AI to run a deep scan. Moments later, the holographic display revealed encrypted data logs, coordinates, patrol routes, and transmission codes. This proves it, Ilara said softly. They were there, but that wasn't all. The data showed that the Varkari had attacked under orders. Someone higher up had given the command. The message code was labeled Operation Cinderfall. The implications were enormous. This wasn't just random raiding. It was a planned extermination. Ilara clenched her fists. They wanted to make an example of us. The decision point back on orbital station Athena, Ilara presented the evidence before the council. The chamber buzzed with shock as the hologram displayed the proof. This is no longer speculation, she said firmly. Elysium 7 was destroyed under direct orders from the Varkari leadership. Senator Hale frowned. Commander Voss, you understand what you're suggesting. A military response could start an interstellar war. Ilara met her eyes. With respect, Senator, war has already started. We just haven't answered yet. The council split into two factions, those calling for peace and those demanding justice. Admiral Renard stood, his voice carrying authority. If we do nothing, every colony will see us as weak. The Varkari will come again. We must strike first, not for revenge, but for survival. After long debate, the council voted. By a narrow margin, humanity authorized Operation Dawn Shield, a limited retaliation aimed at dismantling the Varkari raiding fleets and capturing their commanders for trial. Ilara Voss was placed in command of the operation. The preparation for justice, the next months, were filled with preparation. Human engineers worked tirelessly to upgrade ships. Drones, stealth frigates, and reconnaissance vessels were built with one purpose: precision warfare. Ilara trained her crews not just for battle, but for discipline. We are not destroyers, she reminded them. We are protectors. Justice must be swift but clean. Meanwhile, Mason and Ari decoded more of the Varkari data, learning about their tactics and weaknesses. The Varkari relied on strength, not strategy. They attacked in large groups but rarely anticipated counterattacks. They think humans will hide behind treaties, Mason said during a briefing. Let's prove them wrong. Ilara nodded. But we will not lose ourselves in anger. They will see who we are, not just what we can do. By the time Horizon Dawn departed, 23 ships followed under her command. They formed Task Force Solace, humanity's first united military fleet in over 50 years. The first encounter. Their first mission was simple: locate and neutralize a small Varkari forward base operating near the neutral system of Lathos. The fleet approached quietly, using stealth drives that masked their energy signatures. As they neared the asteroid belt, the base came into view, a cluster of metallic towers hidden among the rocks. Guarded by only a few patrol ships, Ilara gave the order. No unnecessary fire. Disable, don't destroy. The attack began silently. Human ships launched EMP torpedoes, disabling enemy sensors. Drones slipped through the debris, landing on the outpost's hull. Within minutes, the base was paralyzed. Mason smiled. They didn't even see us coming. Ari worked to retrieve the base's data core while Lena coordinated the evacuation of captured workers. Some were Varkari, others from smaller alien species forced to serve. One alien worker, weak and frightened, whispered to Lena, "They made us build weapons to use against humans." Ilara heard this and felt a chill. So it was true. The attack had been planned long before Elysium 7 fell. They returned to the fleet with the evidence. The mission was a success, but it raised deeper questions. If the Varkari were preparing for a larger war, how far would they go? Tension. Among the stars, news of the human retaliation spread quickly across nearby systems. Some alien species criticized the move, calling it reckless. Others, secretly victims of the Varkari's cruelty, watched with admiration and fear. For the first time, humanity was seen not as fragile newcomers, but as a determined and organized power. Within the fleet, however, the moral tension grew. Lena approached Ilara one night in the observation deck. If we keep striking back, where does it end? How do we make sure justice doesn't turn into vengeance? Ilara looked out at the stars. By remembering who we are. We don't destroy out of hatred. We defend what was taken. Lena nodded. Then promise me we'll know when to stop. Ilara gave a faint smile. I'll stop when they understand peace can't exist without respect. The message intercept weeks later, while patrolling the edge of Varkari space, the Horizon Dawn intercepted a transmission. It was faint, encrypted, but recognizable. A fleet movement order. A massive Varkari armada was heading toward New Eden, another human colony. If it reached the planet, history would repeat itself. Ilara called an emergency meeting. If this data is right, we have less than 72 hours before they arrive. We cannot let another Elysium 7 happen. Admiral Renard's voice came through the channel. Do what you must, Commander. Earth stands with you. The bridge fell silent as the crew realized the gravity of the moment, preparing for the confrontation. The human fleet gathered at the edge of a nebula, where they could mask their presence. Every crew member knew what was at stake. Engineers worked non-stop. Pilots reviewed flight paths. Soldiers ran simulations. Ilara moved among her crew, calm and focused. She saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. She spoke softly to them over the intercom. The council chamber of the Zarkon Empire was filled with silence. Hundreds of alien eyes were fixed on Commander Xylar. The great commander, known for never showing weakness, stood in the center of the room, his hands clasped behind his back, his posture stiff and controlled. Yet there was something in his eyes, a shadow of fear that none of the council had ever seen before. "Continue, Commander," one of the High Elders said. "You spoke of the humans. Tell us what happened next." Xylar nodded slowly. His voice was calm, but there was tension beneath the surface. "After our first campaign against them," he began, "we believed the humans had exhausted their resources. We thought their losses were too great, their fleets too damaged. But we were wrong. They learned from every defeat, every mistake, every scar we left on their worlds. They grew stronger after every loss." He paused, letting his words echo through the hall. "When we returned to their systems, we expected surrender. Instead, we found preparation. Their ships had evolved, not larger, not stronger, but smarter. Every weakness we had exploited before was gone. Their engineers had changed designs, added layers of defense we could not predict. They had studied us as carefully as we studied them." Xylar walked toward the holographic map in the center of the chamber. It showed the border systems between Zarkon space and human territory. He pointed to a small star cluster near the edge. "This was where we fought our second major campaign, the Epsilon Line. We thought it would be a simple strike to push them back. But when we entered the system, we discovered traps, mines hidden within energy fields, decoy ships transmitting false signals, and drones programmed to mimic human fighters. Our scanners couldn't tell what was real." He looked at the council with grim respect. "Humans turned deception into an art." The Battle of Epsilon Line. The battle began with confusion. The Zarkon fleet, confident as ever, charged forward in perfect formation. But within minutes, their communication systems were jammed by human interference. False distress signals appeared across their networks. Fake transmissions mimicked the voices of Zarkon officers giving conflicting orders. Chaos spread among the ranks. Xylar's second-in-command shouted over the comms, "Commander, we can't tell which orders are real." "Follow mine," Xylar ordered firmly. But even he felt uncertain. Every move they made, the humans anticipated. Every trap they avoided revealed another hidden danger. Human ships appeared from the shadows, striking and vanishing before the Zarkons could react. They used the light of the twin suns to blind sensors, hid behind asteroids, and lured heavy cruisers into crossfire zones. It was like fighting ghosts. Xylar remembered seeing one small human corvette damaged and smoking, drifting toward his flagship. The humans inside seemed finished. Their ship was crippled, its hull cracking apart. But just as his gunners prepared to destroy it, the corvette exploded, releasing a burst of energy that disabled 3 of his ships. The explosion was not a failure, it was a trap. They had sacrificed themselves to cripple a fleet 10 times their size. That image stayed with him forever. The idea that humans could willingly turn defeat into victory terrified him more than any weapon. When the battle ended, half the Zarkon fleet was gone. The humans retreated, but not out of fear. It was a strategic withdrawal. They had achieved what they wanted, to damage the Empire's pride and show that even the most powerful army could bleed. The lesson of adaptation. Back in the chamber, Xylar continued his tale. "After Epsilon Line, we changed everything. We built new weapons, new armor, new shields. We believed we had adapted, but when we returned, the humans had already changed again." The council murmured in disbelief. "How can a species adapt so fast?" one elder asked. "They are unpredictable," Xylar said. "They think differently. Where we analyze for years before acting, they improvise within minutes. Their greatest weapon is not their technology. It is their creativity." He recalled one particular event, the siege of Helios Gate. It was a massive Zarkon fortress orbiting a neutron star, meant to guard the border between their empires. The humans attacked it with only a fraction of the force needed. They could not win by strength, Xylar explained. So they changed the battlefield. Instead of engaging the fortress directly, human ships redirected the neutron star's magnetic field using drones and explosives. The energy surge disabled Zarkon's sensors and communications, turning the fortress's own defenses against itself. Within hours, the humans had captured Helios Gate, without ever landing a single troop. Siler lowered his gaze. We had more ships. We had more power. But they had imagination, and that made them unstoppable. The human mind, the more Xyler studied humans, the more he realized their true danger was not in their weapons but in their way of thinking. Humans fight with reason and emotion together, he told the council. They argue among themselves even in battle, yet somehow those arguments make them stronger. They find new ideas through chaos. He remembered intercepting human communications during battle. The voices were filled with emotion, anger, fear, humor, even laughter. To Zarkon soldiers, war was a cold, logical process. To humans, it was alive, messy, emotional, unpredictable. In one intercepted message, a human captain was heard shouting to her crew, "We're not done yet. If we fall, make sure they remember our names." That passion unsettled Xylar. No Zarkon warrior would say such a thing. They fought for duty, not legacy. But humans, they fought to be remembered, to protect, to prove something greater than survival. They fear loss, Xylar said softly. But that fear does not weaken them. It fuels them. The final encounter, the last great battle, came at the rim of eternity, a vast dark region where the galaxy's edge met the void. It was there that Xylar led the largest armada in Zarkon history, determined to crush humanity once and for all. The humans knew he was coming. Instead of meeting him head-on, they scattered across the stars, forcing his fleets to chase them through nebulae, radiation storms, and debris fields. Each time he thought he had trapped them, they slipped away, leaving only confusion behind. Weeks passed. Supplies ran low. Morale dropped. And then one night Xylar saw it, a formation of human ships gathering near the void. Hundreds of them, small and fragile compared to his armada, but perfectly arranged. He could sense the trap, but had no choice but to engage. The battle that followed was unlike any other. Human ships fought in complete silence. No open transmissions, no signals, just precise coordination. They had developed a new system, a form of communication through light pulses invisible to Zarkon sensors. It was as if they were one living organism, moving and fighting as a single mind. Xylar's ships fired everything they had. Plasma bursts, ion beams, missiles. The sky lit up with energy. But humans danced through the chaos, using the gravitational fields of dying stars to twist around attacks. Some ships deliberately collided with enemy vessels, disabling them through sheer desperation. At one point, Xylar's flagship was surrounded. He expected a final attack, but instead the human fleet withdrew, leaving him alive. Later, his sensors revealed why. Their ships were nearly destroyed. Instead of finishing him, they had chosen to save their remaining crews and retreat. Yet that retreat was not defeat. It was survival. The humans lived to fight another day, and that was victory enough. The truth revealed. When Xylar finished recounting the story, the council chamber was completely silent. The elders exchanged uneasy glances. None of them had imagined that a primitive species from a small planet could cause such fear in the heart of their greatest commander. One elder finally spoke. "You call them terrifying, but are they not only mortal creatures like us?" Xylar shook his head slowly. "They are mortal, yes, but they do not see death as the end. They see it as a price worth paying. That is what makes them dangerous." He turned his gaze toward the stars visible through the high windows. "We have faced countless species, strong, proud, intelligent. But humans are different. They are never content to accept limits. They break them. They learn, they rebuild, they grow. They turn fear into strength." He paused for a moment before continuing. "When we destroy their ships, they build stronger ones. When we crush their armies, their children return to fight. When we silence one voice, 10 more rise to take its place. You cannot defeat such a species with force alone." The council's decision the elders debated for hours. Some wanted to continue the war, believing that overwhelming numbers could finally erase the human threat. Others, shaken by Xylar's words, argued for caution. At last, the council leader spoke. "Commander Xylar, what do you advise?" Xylar's answer was firm. "Do not attack them again. If you do, You will awaken something in them that even we cannot stop. He walked toward the exit, his cloak brushing against the polished floor. Before leaving, he added one final thought. Humans are not the strongest or the smartest, but they are the most determined. They will not stop until the stars themselves belong to them. Epilogue. A galaxy changed years later. Long after the Council disbanded the human campaign, Xylar returned to his homeworld. He lived in quiet reflection, watching the night sky. He often wondered what the humans were doing now, what new inventions they had made, what new worlds they had found. Xylar smiled, "Oh,